a patient, someone bumped into her and the needle flipped out of her hand and injected herself. And she, in fact, her T cells were crashing within the first 2 months. She knew she had AIDS. She knew she had big problems. Other problems got infected into her system. And she got onto urine therapy, and that was back in 1994 that this problem happened to her. And now here in the year 2001, going on 2002, we're talking about that she is 100% healthy, only through urine therapy. And because of that, she got herself involved with feeling that she owes God and all the poor people and all the problems of this world that she can make contact with and around her areas. She travels and gives free conferences twice a week just to tell people what's available, what they can do, and how they can cure themselves. These people are so happy, so immensely wanting to tell the world that at least they have the availability to talk to her, email her back, send her letters as testimonials, and tell her how she has changed their life. So let's get on right quick with the testimonials, and let's start first talking about the personal experience of Sonia Rodriguez de Gomez from Guadalajara, Mexico. She says, I lived worried about her physical and emotional well-being and human mankind all this time, and she says, I have looked for the solution to their health problems constantly. I have always been in the service health business. I lived mortified seeing my brothers desperate, having examinations with many doctors, and they still remained ill. I have been working here in this hospital 25 years in the pharmacological chemistry laboratory of clinical analysis, and I never found the answer to true health. Then I had to live in my own experience with different diseases in my body and look for a cure for myself now. I looked in all medicines, allopathic, natural allopathic, homeopathic, and without finding health. Then I was tired to look for health and medicine in the world of scientific men. I took refuge in God. God, there it was. I found the true healing. Not only health, but also integral health and complete peace and harmony. Man may have thousands or millions of dollars in his banking account and may be able to travel everywhere to seek health, but he will not find it. To all countries he will look for health, and he will not find it because health is free, and it comes from God-given means. It is a gift and of blessings. God is a perfect God and made the world, air, water, nature, and man perfect. God, as a perfect Father, did not forget disease. He knew that his children of this world would die, be damaged or ill with cancers, AIDS, and many of the multitudes of other diseases. He did not forget us and gave us our own medicine to combat these diseases. In fact, he gave us our own pharmacy. If you take refuge in God, you are going to find the solution to all and each one of his problems as mental, physical, and spiritual. God gives in each one of us and is an inner friend who is always ready to help. Along and alone, you must give him the key and deposit all of your confidence with him and wait patiently for his answer. In him you will find the help that you have never had imagined will come. You will feel within you a great divine blessing in where you go to obtain wisdom and understanding. You will have ears to hear and eyes to see. As Jesus said, a man blind does not see more than one who does not want to learn, and the one that does not know is like that who does not see. As Jesus said again, a man blind does not see more than one who does not want to learn, and the one that does not want to know, again, is the one who does not see. Her testimony is, as a result of a supernatural fact in the year of 1994, I found that when ingesting my own urine, we can have an amazing and incredible treatment of our diseases. I am cured of cysts of the breast, problems of the right mitral valve of my heart, pain in my shoulder, and also an accident of being infected with a needle from a patient with AIDS. I began to take my own urine and fasted for 4 days each month, and after the third fast to the fourth day, the cysts of the bust disappeared. The problems of the heart faded with no future pain. I have never had problems with the infected needle accident of the HIV. I have recovered my health 100%, thanks be to God. I promise to God now to present this therapy to as many people as possible without any interest or profit. As a result of this fact, I began to distribute conferences all over the Mexican Republic without receiving cost of admission. I make this with love so that many of my Mexican brothers and sisters and worldwide friends will, in fact, with my experiences in the conferences, and I have had attendance that vary between 500 and 2,500 people. They will all see how important is the ingredients of what I am telling them. All my brothers and sisters are ill who come to my conferences. I have requested them to raise their hand who are patients under medical treatment at this time. It is incredible the amount of ill people in this world. All raise their hand. My question is, how would it be in this world if all would know this knowledge of urine therapy? I thank God for this knowledge, and I request Him to bless all of us who are sick as He gave me the gift of my good health. By feedback, I successfully obtained an endless amount of testimonials from thousands of people who have cured themselves and others who have shown remarkable improvement in different diseases. Incredible information began to arrive from different parts of the world. There were different book authors in all languages sending such valuable information here to Mexico to my pharmaceutical. I have information from France, Italy, Germany, Japan, India, USA, Nicaragua, Cuba, Spain, and Brazil with testimonies of incredible and wonderful treatments with the therapy of urine. My internet site actually brought me 34,000 pages of interesting and abundant information that speak of the urinary therapy and that, thanks to God, are curing many people by the thousands each year, only for nothing more than their own urine. So let us start to something of testimonials that we can quickly tell you how other people in this world became free of disease. We have the first here. She had gastritis and arthritis. This is from Maria H. Ignanis, Mexico. She says, I attest to have been healed of gastric ulcer and arthritis that I had suffered for 30 years. Now, thank God, I am healthy of gastritis, and also I have noticed that I can move my joints and I no longer have pain. I thank God that by this means of urine therapy, I have healed myself. Next, from Javier Quintero, migraine headaches. He says, I suffered from headaches for more than 20 years. I took my urine, and on the fourth day, I rid myself of blood clots, which I could actually see on the outstretch of my skin. When I did the urine fasting, the pain left from my head. Right now, I have taken 4 fasts in the last 4 months, and I am totally cured. Thanks to God. Before I took medicines daily, and today no longer. Next, from Ernesto Martinez, weight and problems of diabetes. He says, I have been a diabetic for 17 years and have had an infinite amount of diverse treatments. In fact, I have taken different medications without knowing any clear result. I started with antibiotics and lowered much of my weight. I could not walk normally. It hurt my body tremendously with these antibiotics. A year ago, I started on insulin. They injected 25 units, and my glucose never was in its normal limits. My state of health deteriorated radically. My sister-in-law brought the video to me of urine therapy of this Mexican lady from Guadalajara Hospital, Sonia. I knew from the first moment that this one could help me, and began to take all the urine from the very first day after the video. Now, 4 months ago to the date, the result has been wonderful. My glucose is in its normal limits, I have increased weight, and I feel much better. I want to clarify that I suspended the insulin and all medicines. Next, from Teresa de Barba. She had an infection in the kidney. She says, I have a daughter from whom 8 months of age suffered high temperatures of 41 degrees Celsius. I heard on the radio about the conference, but I did not take it much importance. Shortly, the father of my temple said that a conference in the temple again would occur. The second time I went. After the talk, I left very convinced, and I began to give the urine to my daughter. The 20th of May, 1996, I began to give my daughter the therapy, and by the 28th of May, I had to do studies on her at the hospital. We found that my daughter had problems of reflujo urovolateral. That's Spanish. I really don't understand that exactly. But she says the doctor set up an operation in 4 months. In this time, I had to give her antibiotics. She got worse, and the drugs did not convince me that she would get better. My daughter was very anemic. My husband and I then decided to give her the urine each month. We did the procedure for her each month, and the pediatric doctor was very astonished to see that the girl was becoming better and better, and that the person that they have never, as if a person that had never been ill. So on that very month, I do the procedure to her, and she no longer has infection. During the infection in the entire year, she only gained 1 kilogram. Taking the urine in the following 4 months, she gained 3,800 kilograms. My daughter is now healthy and has not returned to be anemic. She is no longer regulating a waiting period to go and have an operation. I thank God and to the urine therapy. The girl's name is Mariana. Next, we'd like to talk about Mr. Gutierrez from Mexico. He has allergy. In simplicity, his testimony is, my testimony is short but very important to me. I had an allergy in the right eye, and I twice have 10 days putting my urine in my eye. Today, after only 10 days, I am very well. My eye, I can see very much, and thanks to God, I am cured. Next, from Mrs. Garcia. She has pain and also diabetes. She claims that 2 months back I took the urine because I was made up of bruises and muscular pains. I could not walk because I fell frequently. I have diabetes. I stopped taking medicines to improve my intestines. I drank my urine 3 times each day. I have not done any fasting yet, but I am going to. But believe me, with just drinking the urine, I have improved almost to completion of all of my diseases. I will go on forever. Next, we have another patient from Mexico. He has hypertension and myopia. His name is Ricardo Rubalcaba. He says, I learned of the urine therapy in a social seminar in the month of February 1997. Since then, I have been taking my urine up to 4 times a day, and I have left my eyeglasses definitely behind. My cardiovascular system, again, is now regularized. I had hypertension, and I feel very well and physically now in 100% without disease. I also suffered of gastritis. I even healed my infected small dog of scabies, already without hair. With my own urine, I bathed him, and in the 3rd day, scabs and sores actually fell off of him. After, he shortly then regenerated the new skin and his new hair. Next, from Alicia Castillo. She had kidney stones and problems in her circulation. She claims, I want to give my testimony about the urine therapy acted in me. When I took it for 15 days only, 3 small kidney stones left me. In truth, I did not know that I had a bad kidney. I only suffered pain in my back and never thought about my kidneys. Most wonderful is that my legs no longer hurt. The suffering came from a bad circulation. A long time past that I have been with homeopathic doctors, and I already see that it does not cure. Now I give thanks to God and the urine therapy that they have healed me. Next we go to Martha Sanchez, a victim of cancer in Mexico. She says, I had cancer of the uterus in 3rd degree and a lump in the right side of my breast. They gave me bad results. They said that it was malignant and they were going to amputate the breast. Glory to God that I am still writing it here with both of my breasts. Blessed and praise God that I was taking my urine for that 3-month period before the operation, and I felt like a new woman. My symptoms and lump disappeared, thanks to God. And it was totally shown by more x-rays done by the doctors, and they said, what did you do? Your lump has gone. It's diminished. Next, from Conception G. She was talking about ulcers. She claimed, I cured myself of 2 duodenal ulcers, one of 7 centimeters and another one of 4 centimeters. They were already bleeding, and they were going to commit me to surgery within 3 weeks. I took my urine immediately after knowledge of how to do the urine therapy, and thanks to God, no surgery. I am cured. Carmen N. of Mexico. She talks about her testimonial on myopathy. I cured myself in 5 days taking my urine. I cured myself of my eye problem because I could not see well for over the last 10 years. I also had a wart that disappeared. I put urine on it for 20 days, and after that 20 days, it dissolved and fell off, thanks to God. We will now talk to George Sotelo from Mexico on diabetes. He says, last year I was in Los Angeles, California. A lady asked if I was ill. I said to her, yes, how do you know? She says, it's the way you're eating. It seems as though you're very afraid to eat any sugars. And I said, yes, that's true. I am a diabetic. She suggested to me to take X amount of urine during a fast. When I returned to Mexico, the doctor requested me for a diabetes analysis, and the results were within its normal numbers. He could not believe, he could not understand. He told me to come back. As I came back, I went back to him, and again, under normal regulation of numbers, no diabetes shown. Thanks be to God. Next, we're going to talk to Consolation MS of Mexico, talking on cancer. She says, my uncle who lives in Hermosillo, Sonora, is a cardiologist of 65 years old. He cured himself of cancer in the prostate. He lost all hope in chemotherapy and chemotherapy treatments in full. We provided him with a book called The Water of Life. He did the fasting of urine therapy, and in 2 weeks, only 2 weeks, he feels much better. He continued taking it, and of this day, he is totally cured. My sister cured herself of diabetes. In my family, my husband and children used it for cuts, blows, angina, coughs, etc. I did fasting for 19 days myself on water and urine only. I felt very well, hard, agile, spirited, and I have never felt bad since. I have not had a serious disease since. For my husband, a scorpion pricked him. His urine was taken, and I put a compress on the bite. He resisted the poison. Thanks be to God. Next, the testimony was from Mrs. Rosalinda A. on infection. She says, the doctor a day before going to the conference had detected an infection in my ear, and he prescribed drugs for me that I did not buy. I went to the conference instead and began to make the fasting on the urine and drops into my ears. Within one night, in 48 hours, thank God I am healed, with no medicine, no chemicals. Next, Mrs. Graciela P. on deafness and circulation. She says, I began the 7th of February 1997. I cured my circulation problems and a rare disease. I had humming in the ears. I suffered a lot of momentary deafness and itchiness in the ears and eyes. I have done 3 fasting periods, and thanks be to God, I am very well. I no longer have the eyes and ear problem. I now take urine daily, and at the moment I am extremely healthy. Next, from Maria Orozco on allergies and nerves. She says, I got rid of surgery thanks to the urine therapy in my right arm. The neurologist said to me that I have a ligament that is atrophied at the wrist, and the nerves were pressing on me. The pain was such that I considered surgery. Thanks to God, I began urine therapy on the 31st of January 1996, and in less than 2 weeks I began to feel enough improvement to forget surgery. In addition, I had in my right hand an allergy to detergents. It always brought the skin to blister and cracks. All that disappeared totally. Now, even my nervousness is very well, and I now can dream. Before taking the urine therapy, I could dream only with difficulties. They weren't even dreams, they were nightmares. For whatever reason, with urine therapy, I dream the most beautiful of dreams. Next, from Adriana Sanchez, Mexico, cramps and nerves. She says, I am very nervous, and I also suffer very painful cramps. I began to take the urine, and thanks to God and chemistry, I have not suffered cramps, and I feel safer and very calm all over. Next, Jaime Castaneda, diabetes, hypertension, and circulation. He says, thanks to God, urine that God gave me has cured me. I suffered from diabetes, hypertension, bad circulation of the blood for the last 6 months. I did 3 fasting periods as was told. I feel like another person and have changed my character. In the fasting periods, I feel energy. I no longer have pains all over my body and itches between the skin. I no longer have diarrhea and fever. The fungi that I had in the feet have disappeared. Next testimonial is from Guillermo Aguilera. He says he had pain in the back and a muscular problem. His testimony is that I have a month of taking urine now. I had very strong pains in my back and in my left hand, and thanks to God I do not have any of these pains anymore. It seems that I feel rejuvenated. I feel young, less tired, and I will continue taking my urine daily. Next we go to Yolanda Rivas, Mexico, on constipation and nerves. She says, I was a very constipated person. After taking my urine twice only, I controlled myself very well. Thanks to God and chemistry, it also controlled my nerves at the same time. Next, from Mexico, Nora Ramirez, cirrhosis of the liver. She says, my friend is 55 years old. Her name is Maria de Los Angeles. She had cirrhosis of the liver. They were ready to give her interferon. She began urine therapy, and in 3 months, she astonished the doctors that had readied her for the interferon. It was not necessary to use it, thanks be to God. She is totally free of that problem. She no longer has cirrhosis of the liver. She may have scars, but she no longer has the problem of cirrhosis. Next, from Calendario Vasquez, on diabetes. He says, I have had diabetes for 4 years with counts up to 300. I am with the taking of the urine therapy now each day for 15 days. In 1 month, the count lowers to 124 from 300. My explanation is, with taking drugs indicated by the doctors, 6 tablets a day, my diabetes was on the verge of starting injections of insulin. Now with the therapy I now have, with the grace of God, only 1 month into it, I am in total normal numbers. I now follow this procedure continuously. I now only need to go on and do the fasts. Next, from Judith Munoz, on colitis and tuberculosis. She says, I live in Salto, Jalisco. I live well because the tuberculosis I had was very hard and I felt very bad in the circulation, including colitis and hemorrhoids. I thank be to God with my urine therapy and that who I have attended the conference with, and they all gave their testimonials. I trust it all, and now I feel very well. Thanks be to God. Next, Hope F. on rheumatoid arthritis. She says, firstly, I thank God and Mary, and now to those who gave the message to us in the conference and spoke of the great medicine that this urine can do. I was a urine suffering from rheumatism in my hands. I could not either take nor hold anything in my hands, because everything fell from my hands of the great pain that I had. They are giving me cramps and began to become deformed in my fingers, and in only 8 days after I began taking my urine, my nodules, my fingers, my bones, they began to clear, and the pains and all annoyances that I had vanish. I began the fasting, and nowadays I do not have any annoyance. I have my fingers almost in their very normal place. I now also control my blood pressure, and I took spots off of my face from age. Next, from Juan Carlos Meza. Juan Carlos is a special person. He was a very small child of 8 years old, and he did not speak. He had a mental delay also. He has been taking urine for 6 weeks, and already he can make orations in his speech. He can make total sentences where he never could before. In fact, sometimes he did not speak at all. 3 years ago, with the help of a specialized school, he began to speak, but a month ago he began to make sentences longer. He is more wide awake and maturely mentally. Thanks be to God. Next, we're talking to Maria de Jesus. She was talking on migraine and colitis. She says, I have migraine headaches and colitis, and in addition to a taken off of a fingernail. I have 2 months taking the urine. The headaches now are gone. The nail that I had taken off is already growing back, and the colitis has not affected me anymore. I no longer have that sensation of an inflamed stomach. Thank you, God. Next, Lucia Becerra. She had angina. She says, I live in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. My son, Edgar Daniel Venezuela, was going to be operated, and since he had become immune to medicines, it was difficult with a problem of chronic angina. The information of urine therapy arrived, and immediately I began the therapy. Thanks be to God, the boy no longer needs the operation. Next, Jesus Solazano, myopia. He writes, I healed pain in my knees and feet, putting urine compresses on those affected areas. I also improved my vision by irrigating my eye, and now I can see better. Also, I wash my hair, and it is now starting to grow better and longer, and even were in the parts that I was bald, and I have only taken it for 8 months. Next, Renales Federico Orozco on cancer. After a month and means to practice the urine therapy, I started fasting. A very painful tumor disappeared in the center of my back, which I had for over 1.5 years. In addition, I have been cured of insomnia, improving my average sleep from only 2 hours to 3 hours. Now I sleep 6 hours to 7 hours. Even in the last attack of kidney stones, they dissolved with no need of drugs. Next, from Victorio Gomez. He talks on a tumor, diabetes, and varicose veins. He writes, I cured myself of diabetes, varicose veins, a tumor in the stomach, discharge, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and a tumor in my eye. I have been taking my urine for only 8 months and did 4 fasts. Thanks to God, I am well again. I invite everybody to really make the fasts. I feel very well. God bless to all of them. Next, from Juan Rafael Mojica on myopia and bad circulation. He writes, by this testimonial I give to you, I am cured with the fasting of urine therapy. I thank God to the chemistry for giving the person who came to present this to us wonderful therapy. I am 82 years old, and my problems are lack of circulation, sight, and nerves. I lost a leg by bad circulation 8 years ago. I already became a bad problem in the other leg. I was prone to have a cerebral stroke for which I was constantly dizzy and losing my whereabouts. I was losing my sight, and I was getting to where I could not walk. I began with the therapy on the 10th of December. I took urine every day in fasting from noon to night. Thanks to God, I feel improved rather than cured. The dizziness was never returning. As to my sight, I am recovering, and my leg responds to me perfectly. I took 3 types of medicine that I ingested 3 times a day, and now I no longer take medicines, and I feel as if I was 15 years old. Next, we call on Olga Rodriguez on myopia and diabetes. She writes and says, I have been diabetic for 13 years. I began with fasting with urine therapy. 3 weeks ago today, I have felt very improved. My dizziness has disappeared. Pains in my body, fatigue, and a cyst that I have had in my arm is now gone. My vision is recovered, and now I can read without glasses. Can you imagine? I thank to God and the urotherapia and to the people who recommended it to me. Next, we talk to Teresa Fue on myopia. She said, I went to a conference of chemistry, and on the following day began my fasting for 3 days, taking my urine as she had indicated to me. I also applied it to my eyes directly all nights and mornings. In 15 days I felt that I no longer needed anything else. Successfully, I no longer needed to use my glasses. Before this diagnosis of the doctors were that I would go little by little losing my sight, to soon I would become blind. And hail, I am now perfectly well. My sight is 100% as far as I'm concerned. Thanks be to God. We are continuing now with Socorro Vasquez, Mexico, on endocarditis, diabetes, and myomas. She writes, I have retinal hemorrhage, diabetes, detected from day 19th of March, 1984. My diabetic renal insufficiency, neuropathy, and infarction of the heart. And this is according to encardiograms 3 years ago, plus myomas in the matrix and endocarditis. Making the method of urine therapy, I have healed myself of all of these diseases, thanks to God, in only 8 months. And I also put drops in my eyes, and I have been doing the fastings. Thank you, God, and thank you, Sonia. Next, from Concepcion, varicose veins. She writes, I work in a laboratory and cured myself of varicose veins in the legs. Always I am with problems of lack of circulation. Right now, thanks to God, I am very well. Next, from Ma of Light, Mexico. She writes on gray hair, varicose veins, and fungi. She claims I'm 47 years old and 5 months. In order to begin, my gray hair, varicose veins, problems of circulation, and fungi have disappeared. It is just as simple as that. I drank the urine, and I feel great now. I feel very good. Thanks be to God, I am now cured of all my problems. Mrs. Maria Navarro, tumor. She says I have ugly abscesses in the cheeks and was extended a little to the ear. Then I applied the urine several times a day, and little by little it disappeared. Can you believe? By the grace of God, I now have a perfect-looking face. I am perfect. It has all disappeared. Next, from Mr. Aristio Olive, Mexico. He writes on prostate and diabetes. He says, I suffer from prostate. It is not possible to be operated on because of my age of 85 years old. I have practiced several studies and I have had consultants from many doctors. My daughter, Maria Olive, who attended a conference, insisted on me taking urine therapy, which she has made the therapy herself. I started to take it, and at first, it gave me diarrhea. I continued with the therapy, and I was able to rid my body of pieces of meat and skin, along with filaments and mucus in the intestine. I continued taking the urine, and it cleaned me up complete, thanks be to God. My daughter also lost 12 kilograms of weight, which she does gargling and applies it to her hair, and was very much improved with her complexion and hair. She also was a diabetic, and she has already been in control of her diabetes. Again, thanks to God and you, Sonia, who have taught us now how to control ourselves. And to the love of God, give this on to many others. Next, Maria Elena, migraine. Thanks to God, I am cured of my migraine headaches. I began to take the urine, and I have not returned to feel a headache yet after I have first started. It also hurt me to walk, and I no longer have that problem with my feet. May God bless the chemistry of Sonia. Thank you very much for this information. Next, Jose Gonzalez, sinusitis. He says, I cured myself of sinusitis. I have taken urine for 3 months, and thanks to God, I am very content and healthy. I breathe very well now. Next, from Stefana Tay, Mexico. She writes on depression and nerves. I had bad nerves and depression because my whole body was going to sleep. Since I started the method of urine therapy, already I feel better. I can't wait to go on to my fasting. But I even feel better, the best I felt in years already, thanks to God. Next, from Teresa Davalos, hypothyroidism. She writes, I suffer hypothyroidism for a month, and I have been taking my urine. I took many tablets for my headaches. These tablets gave me what I want to get back to go to work. But now I don't need them at all. I healed myself of my leg pains, my nervousness, my eyes and ears. In general, I have much force to go back and face life. I am calmer and I have spirits to share with my children. Thank you, God. Next, Mr. Jose Fragmentation writes on diabetes. He says, I give my testimony that I am for 2 days taking my urine only, 2 glasses in fasting, and my sugar count dropped from 400 to 130. I will be fasting more to help to lower my level totally. I am now a vegetarian, feeding and feeling to myself much better. Thanks to God, I seem to be cured. Next, Daisy Cavas, diabetes and myopia. My problem was to me that I was going blind, and now already I see perfectly. I always marked 200 sugar count, and now I have managed to only be around the 120 sugar count. It hurt my entire body, and I just, by only 1 month, totally am cured and happy, thanks to God for this therapy. Next, Jose Francisco Beltran, diabetes and depression. He writes, in October of 1990, I had an automobile accident on the highway. The result was diabetes in addition to anger and stress. Giving my account exactly, it was on the month of April 1995. I lost 40 pounds, 18 kilos. I felt weak, tired, depressed with headaches and swelling of my legs because of my kidneys being infected. And already I had been treated by doctors previously. I lasted a year with medicines and diets, until a day a priest at the parish commented to me to come to the conference on urine therapy. It was Sonia, a blood chemist, giving a seminar. Immediately I made a decision and I went to see and listen about it. I made an impression on me. Filling me with faith in her words was so clear that any doubt of the treatment did not fit me. God was healing by means of this urine. Returning in the evening to my house, I remembered that I could not do the therapy, but immediately I requested God to help me start the method. The following day I spoke to Sonia the chemist and recommended to her that I had tonsillitis. What could I do with that? She answered me, I now have greater reason to initiate with the therapy. I started this therapy on the 3rd day, and after the tonsillitis disappeared quickly, this mortal disease of diabetes now was taken by its roots, and grateful be to God of love, goodness, and mercy, I am cured after so many years. Now I did my fasting of 3 days. To conclude, I presented at May 7th of this year to get tested to see my sugar count. Before taking my urine, my count was approximately 348. I was taken by surprise when my sugar was completely normal. Later, and better yet, I confessed to my medical doctor for the last 18 days I had not taken any of his prescribed drugs. This was after I drank between 4 and 5 glasses of urine daily. In addition, for 10 days I was eating everything and most with sugar. Also, I said to him that 2 days before my analysis I had loaded my body with sugar. After eating many fresh sugar waters and foods with sugar, it was a double surprise for my doctor and for the hospital caretakers. They tried to explain to me that diabetes is a traitor and that I would have to continue doing the examinations every month, to which I refused. Immediately I took leave of my doctor, thanking him for receiving his medical attentions. People, invigorate yourself with hope, please. You are not at the end of life. Give yourself to God and do this therapy in His name, so you will be healed as I have been, and I definitely will continue my fastings and prayers for all of you. You see, constantly you hear people that if you don't have the availability of doing this therapy by yourself, give yourself to someone higher, that you will have a partnership with him, that he will be able to help you go through with this therapy. Let's talk about Zoila de Venegas, stones in her tubes. On the 10th of May 1996, she says I came ill because of the stones in my vesicula, and I went into the hospital, but they did not alleviate the pain. Thanks to God, with my urine, I alleviated it myself. With the urine, it brought out the stones. They became jelly-like. Some dissolved. Of course, I was with this, avoided the operation. And for that reason, I am here now telling you and my parents. Next, Alfonso Nunez, diabetes. Thanks to God, I am well of the glucose intolerance with diabetes. I am 64 years old, and 6 years ago I became with this problem. It has been a martyrdom to me to live with this disease. I understand it was all for the foods that I ate before and my lifestyle, and now I thought of my life no longer being right in the future. A friend of mine said to me that I could be normal. My glucose was constantly about 249, and after beginning with the method of urine therapy on the 14th of July to the 14th of August 1998, in that month of urine therapy alone, I am constantly at approximately a low 110. Alicia Higareda, hypertension. She writes, I am cured of hypertension in only 3 months. I have not taken a single tablet, only urine. I am doing the fasting of 3 days. I feel very well, and I am already working in the hands of God. Thank you. Next, Aracela Ramos on diabetes, fungi, sinusitis. She writes, Blessed it is God. I have cured myself through the urine of diabetes, fungi, and the feet and the sinuses. God blesses them from above. God blesses them and follows ahead. Thank you. Next, from Margarita Guzman on diabetes. She says, I have 35 years of age. I am a diabetic for 11 years with insulin and 3 years of homeopathic medicine. After the moment, I am on no longer drugs, only the fasting dose of urine, and I am controlled completely. Next, Martha Lopez. Very important testimonial here. Listen closely. This is on slow learning. She writes, in the second week of my urine therapy, my vomiting along with chronic difficulties disappeared in the morning. Then my daughter of 9 years old with learning difficulties and problems approved her qualifications after urine therapy. She knows the tables, and already she multiplies with ease, when before she could not even put 2 and 2 together. Next, Hortensia Rodriguez on diabetes. In January 1996, they detected me from having diabetes and tested me 3 times. I started taking urine therapy in March. After 15 days, I went to make an analysis, and I realized I lowered it to 145 from 310. Later, I left it and again initiated 1 more week because I had a relapse. Right now, again, I feel great. I will go on through the fastings. Next, Urine Alvarez on diabetes. She writes, I am cured of diabetes taking urine once in the morning for 1 month. After doing a study of my glucose, I find it had lowered. I also felt better in my heart, and this was confirmed by the doctor after doing an electrocardiogram. Next we hear from Yesenia Delgadito. She writes, I was ill of epilepsy. I was on allopathic methods for 1 year, and instead of feeling some improvement, I began to feel worse. I began to lose my hair, and my gums were inflamed. My disease was very hard for me and for my parents, who worried a lot when my eyes were rolling up in my head and I lost consciousness and had a lot of saliva spouting out of my mouth. Can you imagine? I had other diseases also in my throat, which were very prevalent every 15 days, it seemed. My parents took me to the doctor, and he prescribed penicillin that ended my defenses. Later I tried a homeopathic, but that was useless. I did not manage to cure myself until my parents asked God, and he listened to them. My parents went to speak with the father of the temple, and he gave us a light of gift. It was a book that taught them on urine therapy. In addition, the father commented that another father had cured himself of the same problem of epilepsy as I had. My parents told me to do it. They also took it from the sight diseases, and they have had in the past. Thank God now we all felt good. In only 2 days taking it, I have not returned to have any attacks which less than suffer from any colds or flus. I thank God for this medication that was given to me and for the faith that always I have had in my God. He is the main thing to heal all of us, and thanks to Him and for this spring of life that returned me to my health. Another one from Magdalena Bermudez, diabetes and colitis. She writes, without God to a conference, or without going to a conference, I began to take my urine by the desperation from my disease, diabetes. I listened to what they had to say and how to make the fast. I wanted to prove its difficulties, but my stomach loosened and I moved back particle balls out of it. I was scared to do that therapy after. So much stuff was coming out of my system. Later I was told that that was a normal reaction. Whatever was within your system that was not to be there will come out through a diarrhea. Then I returned to the therapy and I did not take insulin during that month. Great changes came into my body. My sugar raised and I suffered an infection in my bladder. However, then, later, it went down slowly until now, on the 20th of June, I am totally cured. Next, we have from Margarita Zazua, sinusitis, insomnia, and asthma. She writes, "It has been 6 years with these diseases. I began with problems like colds. Little by little I was becoming sick, more and more with allergies and later itches throughout my body. I became ill of sinusitis, insomnia, cough, but especially with asthma. Taking the urine cured all of this. Thanks be to God." Susana Ramirez speaks on diabetes, astigmatism, and cholesterol. She writes, "I had several diseases of high triglycerides, cholesterol, diabetes, myopia, astigmatism, insecurity, and so on. The urine therapy I started on the 50th of February 1997 after seeing a video on a conference in Guadalajara. 8 days after, I already felt better. I felt very safe, very content, and with a desire to go back to work. I no longer returned to have pressure. So far, I did not see without lenses, small letters, and now I see perfectly well with them." Next, from Emma Meza. She writes on asthma and colitis. "I made a method of urine therapy for only 2 months. I did 3 times a day of fasting per week, and several of my diseases like asthma, colitis left me, including body pains. Now I feel far much better." Next, we hear from Octavo Avila on hypertension and diabetes. He writes, for 13 days after taking my urine, my high blood pressure and diabetes disappeared. Only in 2 weeks. The urine no longer tastes sweet. I do not feel weak nor with hunger. I am cured, but I have not made the fasting yet. Can you imagine? Not even with fasting. But I will. Next, Sabino Hernandez on diabetes. He writes, "My disease is diabetes. I never took care of it until the day that darkened my vision when I was driving on a highway. To be exact, it was the 24th of June, 1996. My eye doctor diagnosed diabetic retinopathy in the 4th degree, for which I allowed myself an operation with laser rays. The doctor did the operation on my retina. In the following months of this disease, my conversations with several of the clients, I obtained information on urine therapy. Since they drank their own urine, they found out by the means of a QFB, and they have testimony to have been cured by means of the urine therapy. From this date, I am taking now my own urine. I feel very well, and my diabetes, I am recovering my vision. Thanks to God and the message of faith, love, and hope that Mrs. Sonia distributes this information more and more and continues without infractions." Next, Jay Gutierrez on her menstrual rate and hypertension. "It had difficulties in my fingers. I no longer could close them well, and it felt as if I touched electricity. After my fasting, my fingers work better. I no longer hurt, and I can close them well. I also discovered that my menopause was better. My normal menstruation was every 3 months, and now I can menstruate properly every month. I feel very active without laziness. My blood pressure is normal, and I am a very happy human being. Thanks be to God." Next, from Maria Martinez. Osteoporosis, arthritis, and hypertension. From the 11th of February 1996, I was taking urine because they diagnosed me with severe osteoporosis and deformative arthritis of the fingers, shoulders, and back. 2 years before, they were going to operate on all my bones, but a specialist doctor commented that he did not have a case to operate because the problem would soon return. My fingers continued becoming deformed. I began with this urine therapy 4 months ago, and approximately 2 months ago I noticed that the balls were forming on the knuckles properly, and the problems of those balls in the fingers were starting to disappear. I no longer could sleep with my mouth up because I woke up with a headache and pain in my back. My back was twisted with pain. In fact, my knees lost strength and I could not last 10 minutes to walk upstairs. I had to cut my hair because I no longer could comb my hair in the back of my head. I also felt that my shoulders left their place. I had colitis and stomach aches. Now, already, I can do everything without feeling more than a natural fatigue. Today, I no longer take these large amounts of medications, and I no longer have any of these diseases. Thanks be to God. Now from Graciela Solis, cancer of the breast. In August 1995, they detected a tumor in my left breast. They operated on me, and it was cancerous, of which 13 ganglion were malignant and 7 benign. They applied chemotherapy and radiation later. In January of 1996, new cancer extended to the bones of pelvis. I began to take urine, and at the moment, I am better. Thanks be to God and Mrs. Sonia, who put it in my way. Next, from Jose Guadalupe Gonzalez on arthritis, tonsillitis, and an infarction of the heart. A year ago, for 3 months, I started with the method of urine therapy because I had a case of a disease. I had pains in the joints, rheumatoid arthritis, dental decays. Today I can say to them that I am cured completely of all these diseases. I also must mention, in addition, I have black hair now, which before I had white. My age is 70 years old, and since I take urine, I feel like 50 years old. I thank God and chemistry for the knowledge of this method. Next, from Marisol Manguez, menopause. She claims I am 45 years old, and when beginning to take my urine therapy, I suffered from menopause. At 28 years old, I had my tubes tied. I had shame, insomnia, nerves, and smoked heavily. Today, after 6 months, I say to everyone, I do not smoke, I feel perfectly well, and all my diseases seem to be of past history. Next, from Gloria Vasquez, migraine. She writes, I have been many years suffering with migraine, and since I began to take my blessed orina, or urine, I began to feel the benefits because the strong pains in my head were taken from me. Today, I can say that thanks to God, I am cured completely, and I feel with great desire to make many things out of my life. I am more dynamic, and I feel perfectly well. Thanks to the urine that gave me tremendous energy. Next, we hear from Concepcion Rodriguez. She says and writes, I begin the 16th of July 1996, and with one fast of 2 days, thanks to God, I am alleviated of an acute laryngitis which I had been suffering for 25 years. Now, with the blessed urine of God, it has been already eliminated completely from my system. Next, from Ana Suarez, Mexico, on cystic cirrhosis. She writes, I had cystic cirrhosis. The hospital evicted me, for they said they had no future help for me. They gave me only 1 month to live and my future, and that was in December of 1995. I began to take the urine, and I no longer returned with pains. They were all astonished. Thanks to God and Dr. Sonia, the chemist. Next, we talk to Jose Altilano, hypertension and nerves. He writes, by means of my brother who attended a conference with Dr. Sonia, I found out that he was cured. My brother cured himself of hypertension in a few days. My mother with 3 valves of the heart, and my sister with colitis and migraine also. I cured myself of nerves. Could not sleep, and now I sleep like a baby. Again, thanks to God and Dr. Sonia, we are all curing ourselves. Next, from Mr. Ricardo Cortez Godinez, on bronchitis and rheumatism. He writes, I cured myself of chronic bronchitis, rheumatism, insomnia, stress, and my character also improved, and my excess fat, which I had in the back of my neck for 10 years, is gone. Next, from Mrs. Rosario Avalos, on nerves and fungi. She writes, I cured myself of fungi in my fingernails and nails in my feet. Also, I was losing eyelashes, eyebrows, and hair on my head. All this was happening to me. I have done 4 fasts, and it has taken me 1 year, and now I am cured. Next, Bertha Marida on acne. She says, I cured myself of varicose veins that I had in my right leg, and my skin improved by taking off all of my acne in 3 days. Now I feel I am happy, thanks to God, and blessed life. Next we will go to a tumor in my head from Mrs. Concepcion. She writes, during 2 years and 5 operations that they practiced on me, I had a tumor and another one was developing. I already lost faith, and then they repaired me for the 6th operation. A lady came to my room after hearing about my condition, and she looked at me and whispered, do you want to be cured? I answered to her, sure, but what must I do? And she says, you must leave this hospital. You must go to Guadalajara to a conference in the Temple of Our Lady of Consolation next Tuesday. I said to her that she was going, what were they going to think of me here? Then several doctors got to review me, and I asked them, what if they were going to cure me by taking the tumor out? I said, is it possible then to have another tumor grow back in its place? They would not answer. I only saw in their eyes an interpretation through their silence. Soon after I asked that, I got to think that I should better leave the hospital and I want to go to my house. They said to me maybe that was far better, where it is possible for me to live there a little bit longer time than just in the hospital. They helped me to leave and they discharged me from the hospital. When I arrived at my house, I felt very alone and thought, what will I do? There will be no longer operations on me, and I am still ill. Then I remembered what the lady had said about next Tuesday and where I should go to that temple. I went to that temple and listened to a seated conference. Alone, I was at the bottom, and from that moment on, I knew what I was going to do, and that was the only way that I could get cured. It just hit me. They gave me a leaf to know, or a leaflet to know, of how to make the therapy of the urine. I did it exactly, including fasting. In 2 months, I healed totally all of that tumor, and now I live a normal life. I work right, and I request God's prayers that blesses so many of us ill people. This is from Mr. Thomas Antimo. This is about an automobile accident. He says, my work is very heavy. I was driving and had a very hard automobile accident. I had a front collision. I was bleeding and I did not know what to do. I had metal sticking in all parts of my body. I was cut very much and the blood left my body with incredible force. I needed wisdom to do something immediately. I was about to die by bleeding to death. I implored God with desperation of my life. I soon remembered and agreed that the doctor of chemistry, Sonia, in a conference once said that urine is good for everything, especially the blood. It stops blood from bleeding. If you ever get a cut or a scrape, put it on immediately. I said, in the name of God, help me, and I started to throw my urine in all directions of all my wounds. When I applied it, it started coagulating immediately. I had soon found that the ambulance arrived, and about 15 minutes later, when they transported me to the hospital, I was found that if I had not done what I have done, I would have bled to death. I thank God for those who saved my life by applying this urine onto me. Now each day I continue taking it daily, and I also make my hair on my head grow, which I was bald. Such is of urine therapy. Next, from Waldo Chavez, ambulatory arthritis. He writes, I am 60 years old, now retired. I am rejoiced and I was bohemian, loving the celebration, the good life and the meat. For this reason, 3 years ago, I committed to the military hospital in Lima, Peru, for 6 months, where they diagnosed ambulatory arthritis, or what you call rheumatoid arthritis. My normal treatment at the hospital did not make the intense pains go away, and I suffered in the joints, knees, elbows, foot, and fingers, heel inflammation, and in the leg inflammation of the joints. I could not eat another piece of meat nor to drink any kind of liquor, and especially beer. I had the luck to find the works of the water of light and urine therapy. Good luck to all the people who wish to follow this method, for it is 100% effective. And my name is Walter Chavez, from Tacna, Peru. Okay, next we hear from... Let me pick up on the test here. All right. Adrian Llamas. He writes on Long Life in Texas, USA. I am a young adult. I am very interested in urine therapy since my maternal grandfathers believe in this wholly. The only difference is that he asks for my urine. He asks for my urine because I have the hormone structure that he wishes he had. If he would drink his own, it would not be as powerful now at 90-some years old. He lives very healthy and is, again, 92 years old. I hope to have the same fortune that my grandfather has. Confide in my faith and urine therapy. For he was not 92 years old, but he feels like 50.